Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Let me just try to clarify one thing here. I don't think there's anything in any legislation where a plan has to be devised and given to this committee. I think your responsibility is to the Secretary of Defense. His responsibility is to the President. And at some point, we are interested in what that plan is, but I don't think that's written in stone that we have to be given that plan at point X. Okay. Well, thank you for that clarification. General Milley, I do want to ask you about a readiness and modernization issue. Currently, Fort Carson, which is in my district, has a brigade combat team deployed to Europe in support of our allies to deter Russian aggression. To get the BCT ready to deploy, they obviously require reliable, modern equipment and training. So my two-part question is, if we had a CR, will the next brigade combat team out of Fort Carson be able to deploy with reliable equipment and necessary training? And secondly, would the next Stryker Brigade out of Fort Carson be able to go to the National Training Center to get critical training before deploying?
Congressman, the Stryker Brigade you're referring to, that's one of the rotations that would be canceled. So if there's a year-long CR, that unit rotation would likely be canceled. For the deployment to Europe, we plan on fully funding and resourcing units that are deploying into Iraq, Afghanistan, and other areas of combat. However, the unit that goes to Europe, for example, on a rotational base that you're referring to, they would not get their full suite of home station training prior to deploying because of the personnel strength issue that was previously discussed, the end strength issue. They would likely not deploy at full operational readiness standards that we would like them to deploy at. So there would be a negative impact on that particular brigade deploying.
Thank you. That's very sobering and to me has national implications and certainly has community implications back in Colorado Springs. General Goldfein, I'd like to ask you a question about space. In your written statement, you say that the JICSPOC, recently renamed the National Space Defense Center, will face critical acquisition delays. You also mentioned delays in the new GPS ground infrastructure and GPS-3. So my question is this: with so many military and civilian systems reliant on assured access to space, and even just GPS is critical for navigation, for financial transactions, 2 billion out of our 7 billion people use GPS every day one way or another on the surface of the Earth. What does this mean for security in space and access to our space-based resources?
Yes, sir. You know, we've been the stewards of space since 1954, and we continue to take that priority seriously. As we look at the GPS constellation, moving forward with GPS-3, with the ground-based stations, and with all of the integration that needs to occur is a priority. And so we're managing that very closely. The part that we actually haven't discussed here, I think General Milley may have referred to it earlier, and that's the impact on the industrial base if we don't have a resolution. This is an incredibly sophisticated workforce that you keep on the books if you're industry to be able to do the business of space. And so as we jockey the throttle between a CR, a budget, no budget, an annual appropriation or not, these industries that we rely on to be able to bring that kind of sophisticated workforce have got to figure out what they do with them when we tell them, well, we're not going to be able to use the workforce for next year, but we're hoping we can do the year after that. So it has incredible impact on the industrial base for CEOs out there who are trying to manage their businesses. And I will tell you, as the service that's working the preponderance of space, that's a significant impact.
Okay, I want to thank you all for your service, and Mr. Chairman, I yield back.